The champions Arsenal begin their title defence tomorrow night against newly promoted Coventry. Now, throughout the window, Miles Lewis-Skelly, as we've been saying, has been linked with a move away. Today, Mikel Arteta said that is absolutely not happening.
The players that have been raised in our system and they feel genuinely that love and that connection with those assets as much as possible, develop them and make them extremely important for the club.
Protecting his asset, he says, James. Is this a little bit of a shift in position on Miles Lewis-Skelly?
It feels that way because this story about potential interest from the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United emerged about 7 or 8 days ago. And Mikel Arteta has spoken to the media on 3 or 4 occasions since then. He spoke after the pre-season match last week, their final pre-season match. He spoke ahead of the Community Shield, spoke after the Community Shield and just said he loves the player, but didn't offer any assurances at all. Whereas today it seemed quite pointed, the fact he made it that clear how much he wanted the player to stay. Now, I think his performance in the Community Shield reiterated what everybody knows about him already. His passion for the jersey, the fact he can play in so many different positions, the fact he's so versatile as well, the fact he's got so much quality on the ball and without the ball. But I wondered when that story circulated last week, Arsenal as a club would have seen some of the fan reaction. I'm not saying they'd have reacted based on that, but I think the feeling was so strong from Arsenal fans about wanting to keep an academy graduate, not only an academy graduate, but a brilliant player as well, who's still very young, still has a lot to develop, a lot he can go to any level. He started in the Champions League final for Arsenal as well. He clearly is a player they value, but I wonder if the fan sentiment really has made Arsenal double down on that stance and he's not going anywhere, it seems.
Mark, even though, as you always tell me, 100% profit on a player like that.
And ultimately, yeah, you know, finance plays a massive part in any transfer deal these days, and particularly for a club of Arsenal's stature, they are one of the sharpshooters, the highest end of the financial turnovers within the Premier League. So no one escapes from being mindful of the rules. They are one of those sides that do generate a huge amount of money. They're a juggernaut of a commercial football club, so therefore they do have a little bit more leniency. But ultimately, it will be about, does this work for us financially? How much game time is he going to get? And if the right money is chucked on the table, maybe Arsenal have a question to answer. As James has rightly said, and as Mikel Arteta has said in his press conference today, it's going nowhere 100%. On the flip side of that, you don't expect Mikel Arteta to say, oh no, he's available, he's not someone for me. He's always going to protect one of his players and try and protect the value of the player by saying, not for sale, he's priceless, until an offer comes in that the board feel is acceptable.
OK, yeah, all right. But if we take Arteta at his word, he is staying. But defence is a priority for Arsenal. Here's Arteta again.
Well, we are really active in the market. I think I mentioned that a few days ago, and the ambition is to improve the squad. Obviously, we have a really specific issue in the backline, especially with the long-term injury of Willie, and the fact that we miss one more defender. That's clear. So we are trying to reinforce that area, and whenever we're ready, we will announce something.
We've been saying for the last few days that something is Ezri Konsa. Is that going to happen, Mark?
Yes, deal agreed, £51 million. It's only a matter of time now before we get official confirmation. But Mikel Arteta is getting a very experienced 28-year-old defender with over 200 Premier League appearances attached to his name. He played a part in every single game for Thomas Tuchel at the World Cup, started 6 of the 8 England matches and scored against France. And he brings everything. We talk about versatility with Miles Lewis-Skelly. He's a player that can play at centre-back and also has played at right back in his career, which is something Mikel likes. A lot of managers really now like to have centre-backs that can play at full-back because it gives them so many options, particularly in and out of possession. When you've got that option that someone can drift out wide and almost create a back three in possession, it gives you more options going forward, and that's exactly what Ezri Konsa would do. So yeah, just a matter of time now before I think we get official confirmation of this one. But the player that Mikel Arteta was referring to there as to being close, we know is Ezri Konsa. OK, so that's close. Any more for Arsenal?
I think if they were to strengthen in any area of the pitch, I think they'd be looking at a left winger. We know Crystal Solis has really impressed in pre-season. It looks like he'll start tomorrow night against Coventry and get a run of games in this side. It seems clear that he's usurped Gabriel Martinelli, and whether or not Martinelli is there come the end of deadline day, we wait to see. We know there is potentially money to spend, but how much money to spend, we're unsure of. There were links last week with Victor Osimhen, whether or not there were conversations with Arsenal actively asking how much it would cost, or Galatasaray offering the player. We're still unsure whether or not there's anything in that, because we know Arsenal already have 2 forwards with Gyökeres and Kai Havertz as well. And who's going to be the starting number 9? We wait to see this season. We know there is money there because the pursuit of Morgan Rogers was seen as independent of the one of Bruno Guimaraes. And I think they were already looking at Ezri Konsa in this transfer window. Those talks started quite early on in the window. There's a clear gap in valuation in terms of what Villa were willing to sell him for, where Arsenal were. So I think if there is a unique market opportunity, if there's a left winger they can sign, because we know they're in for Vinicius Junior, that's not come off. But I think if there was a player they could get in on the left-hand side to strengthen Arsenal, it's got to be a player with the ability of being world-class, and they'll look to do it. But at the same time, I think if they're to sanction that, there may have to be significant sales. That's one area that Arsenal have struggled in recent years. They've not been very good sellers. Chelsea have been world-class with sellers. The likes of Manchester United, they're getting there. Manchester United and Arsenal haven't been so good with sales.
OK, well, we're going to see what sort of state Arsenal are in, because the champions...
5 million, I think, from about a decade ago. Do you think historically Arsenal have been a bad selling club?
It's not bad or good. It's what you have in relation to the options that you have to sell. Maybe we've been extraordinary, depending on the level of the players that we have, the ability and their contracts and their will to go. A possible issue that you can face is that maybe you want to make certain decisions with certain players, but they are that happy that they want to stay as well. So it's a lot of factors that have to be right when you have to sell a player. But yeah, it's not that simple in my opinion.
And so much investment last summer, strengthened again this window. Is it getting close to a stage where maybe the club can't bring any more people in until those sales are made?
Well, depending on the sporting success as well. I think there isn't any club in Europe that has had the growth that Arsenal had in terms of the value, in terms of the performances, in terms of the revenues. So that's something very big. Some other clubs maybe they need to sell. I think we've taken an approach that has increased the level and the capacity of the club big time.
James, ESPN?
Kel, when you go from finishing second for 3 years to being champions, and sort of go from hunting to being the hunted, if you like, do you feel there's a target on your back now? Do you say that to the squad as champions, there is a target on your back?
Today, no, because we start from scratch, from zero tomorrow, and we're going to have to prove if we have the level to go back to that position again. But I think that happened in the last 3 seasons. At some point we were first, some of the times we were chasing it, and you never know what is better. If you give me the choice, I want to be first, I want to be hunted, and I want to be in control of our future rather than depend on somebody else.
And a lot of the home games, particularly in the second half of the season, were quite intense, weren't they? With very emotional occasions you were trying to get over the line. Do you think now you have done that the atmosphere will change, that it will be more, maybe not relaxed, but it will be a bit less emotional than it was last year?
I don't know. I think it's been an evolution in terms of the atmosphere 3-4 years ago, then 2 years ago, then last year. And yeah, when you are so close as well, at some point that atmosphere and the feeling not doing it again can restrict you. But then when I see the celebrations and the parade and those emotions, I'm very confident that we're going to have, in my opinion, the best stadium in the world and the best atmosphere in the world. Because if we do that, we're going to be much closer to achieve what we want to do again.
Athletic, over.
Hi, Mikel. Just picking up on Miles, a few Premier League clubs over the last few years have had to sell their academy players because it helps with their financial records. But when you talk about Miles there, and you see someone who not just brings something on the pitch, but also off the pitch is probably the soul of the club, is it important to keep players that have those qualities as well?
Certainly. I mean, the players that have been raised in our system and they feel genuinely that love and that connection with the club, it brings something else. There is no question about that. And we need to look after them in a really special way because they bring value that is very difficult to find. That's why, when we can, we want to protect those assets as much as possible, develop them and make them extremely important for the club.
And just from a more general perspective on youth development, it seemed maybe 10 or 15 years ago it was quite normal for top Premier League clubs, so Arsenal, Chelsea, to send their young players to other Premier League clubs on loan. So Jack Wilshere to Bolton, Daniel Sturridge to Bolton as well. Whereas recently it seems it's more loans abroad. Do you feel like, I don't know, maybe sending players on loan to the Premier League again could be beneficial for those young talents, not just at Arsenal but across the league?
It's I think those are individual cases. I mean, those players have to be ready as well to compete in the Premier League and to play regularly. The priority is to expose those players and give them minutes yeah, you better agree that that's going to be the case. And yeah, how many clubs, teams, managers in this league can guarantee you that that's going to happen to a really young player that probably hasn't had exposure? If you find it, great, because that's the level that we want them to compete. But sometimes they need a different pathway. The beauty of this is that the pathway can be completely different and the outcome can be the same. And this is the magic of football as well.
We'll go to Hannah from Stan Sport Australia.
Hi, Mikel Hansen-Clare from A Current Affair in Australia. Arsenal has a third income following Down Under, and fans are stoked that every Premier League game is going to be broadcast on Stan Sport. Do you have a message for all of the Aussies who are going to be getting up in the middle of the night during the season to cheer on the Gunners? And can you give us your best g'day?
Well, make sure that they do, and I have a really special connection with that country, first of all because I've been there, because I love it, because one of my best mates, Tim Cahill, is from there, so I know everything about it. So what do you say? I have to say, g'day. G'day! So to all of them, let's go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. We'll go to Phil from PA.
Arsenal start the season as the favourites to win the league. Do you think that that's accurate? Is that the way that you see it?
It doesn't matter. Our friend is not here today with the supercomputer and all the stuff that we normally have.
Don't worry, he'll be back.
Well, I hope he's back. But yeah, I think it is what it is. I think our supercomputer and what it has to drive us is the standards against daily to be able to day by day, and the right to position ourselves there in a really strong way, and to play, to perform, and to connect with our people in the manner that we want. And if that's the case, I'm sure we're going to be very close, and then the destiny will decide what happens.
You've got that first title on your belt. When you look around the dressing room, do you see a team or a squad that can go on and dominate this league, win title after title?
That we won't, I guarantee you, with my life, that that's the case, and how willing they are to achieve that. But we need to show, and that's only on the pitch and the way we act and react and overcome different challenges and opportunities over the season, whether we are capable of doing it or not.
Okay, last couple of years live. Ben, first.
Good afternoon, Mikel. Ricardo Fiore gets to go on the community show, but it seems to have gone under the radar. He seems like he can attain any attribute. When he's in the box, coolness of a striker. When he's in the midfield, calmness of a midfielder. What's it like coaching a player like that, and how have you seen him grow over the years?
Well, every player has very specific qualities. Ricky has a part of those qualities. He has a special energy, a special aura around him that makes him different. But he brings that. But Piero is extraordinary. Everything that he does with very different qualities. And what I want that is Ricardo is Ricardo and Piero is Piero, because with those two we are much better. The way they complement each other, the qualities that they offer, and that's what we try to build around the squad.
And Harry, Lucy.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
Hope you're well. Quick question on your job in general, because it feels like from the outside looking in that there's more information during a transfer window out there than there's ever been. Does that make your job harder? Has it ever filtered through to the point where you've had to have